Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're diving into the exciting world of After Effects expressions. If you're looking to take your animations to the next level and unlock a whole new realm of creative possibilities, you've come to the right place. In this comprehensive guide, I'll provide you with a solid introduction to expressions in After Effects, covering everything you need to know to get started, from the basics of writing expressions to powerful techniques for automation, animation, and creating complex motion graphics. We've got you covered. So let's jump right in and explore the fascinating world of expressions in After Effects. So, what are expressions? Expressions are a powerful scripting feature that allows you to automate animation, create complex motion graphics, and link properties together dynamically. They are written in a scripting language based on JavaScript, extending the functionality of the software beyond simple keyframe-based animation. Now, let's talk about expressions versus keyframes. Why should I use expressions and not keyframes? Well, keyframes provide manual control and precise adjustments, while expressions offer automation, adaptability, and the ability to create complex, interactive animations. Both techniques have their strengths, and using a combination of keyframes and expressions can empower you to create stunning and dynamic animations in After Effects. We don't use expressions to make our lives more difficult by having to learn more things. We use expressions to make our lives easier and have the code automate things for us. Expressions in After Effects are written in a language based on JavaScript. So spaces don't matter too much, but caps do. You need to write words exactly as they need to be, or the expression will not work. Here in After Effects, I already have a project which I called AE Expressions. It doesn't matter, create a new project, call it whatever you want. Now I'm going to create a new composition, that is Control or Command N. And now I'm going to name this Expressions. And I'll leave the defaults. So 1920 by 1080 is good, and 2997 is good as well. Now, we need to have a layer to work with, so I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a rectangle shape in here, and green is fine. So here we go. I'll press and hold the Shift key as I draw to constrain this to a perfect square. So here we go. I am going to select the selection tool. I'll press and hold Control, and now I'll double click the anchor point tool, and there you have it. Now my anchor point is centered on this layer. Ain't that cool? All right, so now let's add an expression to the position of this layer. So select the layer, press P for position, and now let's add the expression. You can select position, and then you can go to animation, add expression. But it's so much more fun if you press and hold the Alt key, which is Option on the Mac, and now click on the stopwatch. As soon as you do that, a couple of things happen. Number one, your numbers turn red. What that means is that you are no longer in charge of these values. The expression is. Now we have some other icons here at the bottom, and we have a place to type here in the timeline. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about this. What this is saying is it's looking at itself. It's saying, hey, for the position of this layer, look at the position of this layer. Because, you know, position is inside of transform. So if we were to collapse the layer and expand it again, notice that transform has anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity, and the expression is in position. So the expression language is saying, hey, look at transform, then position of this layer. In other words, it's like looking at the mirror. It's saying, hey, for the position of this layer, look at the position of this layer. It's doing nothing. But we can type now anything else we want to type. Let's start with a very simple wiggle expression. This is perhaps the expression that I use the most. So you can click on the words transform position and notice that they're all selected. I mean, you don't have to go again and select them again. They're already selected. And now type the word wiggle, all lowercase, W-I-G-G. And actually, before you even stop typing, here it is. You can simply double click it and there you go. It even gives you the parentheses. A wiggle expression gives you random values based on two parameters. Frequency, how often should it give you these random values? And magnitude, how much should they be? So frequency is measured in times per second, while magnitude is measured in whatever unit this property is using. Position is measured on pixel coordinates. So if we were to type 2, give me random values 2 times per second, comma, 200, it means go plus or minus 200 from both these numbers. To commit to the expression, click out of it, and now if you play, you're going to see that indeed we are wiggling the position of this layer. Do you want to wiggle it faster? That's fine. Change the first number. I'll change it to a 5. And now it should wiggle a lot faster. All right? You want to wiggle it more, less, then change the magnitude number. So wiggle. Frequency, magnitude. How often? How much? Now, there are different things that you need to know about expressions. And listen, we're just getting started here, so it's okay. If you need to pause, you need to rewatch something. I have divided this already in chapters, so you can go to a specific chapter and just watch that. So let's continue here. Let's talk about position having two numbers, one for X and one for Y. So imagine that you want to wiggle only the up and down, but not the side to side. What to do, what to do, what to do? Well, you can create variables. All right? So a variable is a placeholder for information. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. So press and hold Alt, click on the stopwatch, and now the same thing that added the expression lets me delete the expression. So here we go. If I right-click the word position, I can separate the dimensions. So now I have X and I have Y, and you know what? Yeah, I could then add the wiggle to only the Y. But look what happens if you do it to scale. There is no way to separate the dimensions of scale. So I'm going to undo the separation of the dimensions, and now I'm going to use variables. A variable is a placeholder for information. All right? It's called variable because it changes. Like every time you look at a clock, it changes time. Go figure, right? So that would be a variable that it shows you whatever the container has at that moment in time. So here we go. Let's enable the expression. Add the expression by pressing and holding Alt, click on the stopwatch. We can name our variables anything we want to name them. I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to name my variable A, B, and C. So A space equals space, new line, B space equals space, new line, C space equals space. Now, The reason why in this case we need to use a variable is because we want to separate the x from the y. The reason for that is because position has two values, or three really if you're dealing with 3D, and that is known as an array. Position 0 will always be x, side to side. Position 1 is going to be y, up and down, and position 2 is going to be z, closer or farther from the camera. So, right now, we're not in 3D, so our array has two indexes, the 0 and the 1 for x and y. So here we go. Let's define the first variable, which I named A. And by the way, we could have named it Luisa, Blue Dog, Yellow Cat, anything you want. You just can't name a variable with a keyword. In other words, you can't name your variable wiggle. So it has to be a word that doesn't mean anything in the script. And A is just as good. We could have called it X position, Y position, something like that, but not position. All right, so here we go. Notice that we have a squiggly line, very similar, okay, identical, to the one for parenting. So with this squiggly line, we are going to point, we're going to click and drag and point to the X. Look where my insertion line is. It's right after the A. We're defining A. So I'm going to click on this pick whip, expression pick whip, and I'm going to point it to the X. Boom. It writes the variable for me. Look at the language. Transform, position, we already saw that, and it gives it the index number. Remember, we are pointing only at the X, and that is index number 0. Now, in expression language, we end sentences with a semicolon, all right? So after we define that first variable and we go to the second line, right, we're going to put a little semicolon there at the end. I'm sorry I clicked out of it, and yes, I'm getting an expression error because I clicked out of it inadvertently and I wasn't done doing my expression. So After Effects is just saying, hey, Luisa, what's going on here? This is not making any sense. All right, let's define B now. Click and drag it to the Y. See, it's identical, but it has a 1 because the Y has an index of 1. The C is because I need to put these two together in the array. So square brackets. As soon as you open one, After Effects will close the other one. So inside A, B, and now the expression is working perfectly well. Of course, it's not doing anything yet, right? Because we're just saying, hey, for the Y of this position, look at the Y of this position. For the X of this position, look at the X of this position, and then put them together, X and Y. Yeah, it's not doing anything. But we're going to replace the B, which is the Y. Don't grab the index, with wiggle, open parentheses, 2, let's do 250. Click out of there for good measure. And now it's wiggling only the Y. All right? Imagine for a second that you want to do this with scale. Because we already saw, hey, listen, you don't have to do these variables for position. Sometimes you do. But you have to for scale. So let's go ahead and delete the expression here. And let's go to scale, press and hold Alt or Option. And now here we go. A space equals space, B space equals space, C space equals space, square brackets, A, B, and there you go. Point at the X, width goes first. Point at the height, then height, end with semicolons for good measure. And now there is our expression. Again, it's not doing anything. Now let's do it to the width. select transform.scale, and instead of telling it, hey, for the width of this layer, look at the width of this layer, we're going to say, hey, for the width of this layer, wiggle it. Wiggle 2 times per second, and let's say 50%. And it's 50% because scale is measured in percentages. So here we go, done, and now it's wiggling the width. All right? So we have learned 2 important things. We've learned wiggle, and we've learned, well, arrays, and we have learned variables. Very, very important. All right, let's go on. Now let's connect 2 properties that might be unconnectable. All right? So here we go. I'm going to delete the shape layer, and I'm going to create a new one, which will be an ellipse. And in fact, let me make it a little bit taller only so that we can see it. And now I will center that anchor point the same way that we did before with the selection tool active. Press and hold Control and then double click the anchor point tool, and that centers that anchor point in that layer. So here we go. Let's keyframe the position of this layer so that it goes from left to right, right? And there it is. And maybe it's going to be going left and right and left and right, maybe eventually a lot of wiggle, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. What I want is, as this goes forward, I want for the layer to rotate, and I want for the rotation to be controlled by the position of the layer, more precisely by the X position of the layer. So, position is still showing, and we want it to show Shift R, and now we show rotation. Press and hold Alt, click on the stopwatch, and now we are going to point, we're going to use the pick whip to go not to the word position, not to the Y, but to the X. X. So we are pick whipping to the X value. See it? And there you go. Now, if you look at this, it's indeed, as it moves forward, as it moves to the right, is rotating. So this expression is letting me control the rotation of the layer with the position of the layer. Now, it's rotating rather quickly. I mean, look at the numbers, right? So it starts with 214 because this is 214. As it moves, see how this is 500. This is going to be 500.4. That's because it just leaves it at 360 and then it puts a 1, right? So that's how rotation works in After Effects. And here we go. Let's change this. The rate of change of the rotation is too high. So I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to the expression and I'm going to say, make it half. Make it half. So I'm going to divide whatever value it gets from position, I'm going to divide it by 2. And that's a /2. And now the rotation is slower. See it? I can even divide it by more. It doesn't have to be 2. It could be 2.5. And that should give me something that is a little bit more realistic with this egg-shaped thing rotating. Let's go ahead and delete these keyframes and delete this, this expression. And now let's interpolate things without using keyframes. So let's say we want to do position. We want to start here, right? It doesn't really matter. We're going to add the expression here. And now let's talk about one of these little icons. Do you see this one that looks like a little play button? That is the expression language menu. Click here and you will see that there is an entire section for interpolation, gradual changes in a property. So we are going to go to ease. this one, T, T min, T max, value 1, value 2. All you need to do is click there. Ease. This is going to be an easy ease. And again, I inadvertently clicked out of it and now it's giving me an error. That is because I need to change some of these things. The T is the property that is going to control the interpolation. In this case, it's going to be time. So the time in the timeline will determine the interpolation. So time will control when the animation starts, so this is the T min, when the animation ends, this is the T max, what the values at first will be, and then what the values at the end will be. So we're going to start this at 2 seconds. We're going to end it at 5 seconds. So 2, 5. The value at the beginning this is an array. All right, so we got to put it in square brackets. Let's start it where it is right now, which is 230, 438. And at the end, it's going to end at 430. And I don't want for the Y to change, so that's going to be 438. And there you have it. The expression will start at 2 seconds and then go all the way to 5 seconds and move the many pixels. Oh no, I needed to move more. Well, then change that value and now it's going to move much more. See it? Now, this is an ease, and I am sure you saw it already in the interpolation, but let's go over some of the other icons that we see here. The first one here is an equal sign that is blue. This enables and disables the expression without having to delete it. So, oh, I want to see how it looks without the expression. Done. There you go. Oh, I want to see the expression again. Done. The second icon, if you hover above it, it just says Show Post-Expression Graph. And you can click there and you don't see anything. But that's because we don't have a graph editor open. So here we go. That's it. So you see the little curve here because it is an easy ease. We already saw this little squiggly line. And we already saw the expression language menu. There is one more thing that I want to show you, and that is this. You can select the property and then go to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, Convert Expression to Keyframes. So yes, sometimes you just want the keyframes. So maybe you had a wiggle and now you want the keyframes because you want to change them otherwise. It doesn't really matter. You can convert the expression to keyframes, and now we have a gazillion keyframes instead of the expression. So the expression got disabled. It's still there, but what is creating the animation now is indeed the keyframes. All right? So let's talk a little bit about other values that we may have. I will delete this and let's create a rectangle. And I'm going to create it horizontally like that, and same thing. I want to center that anchor point, and there you go. Now, let's go ahead and create maybe a wiggle expression for rotation. So R for rotation, press and hold Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch, and now let's type wiggle 2, let's say 60, right? And there it is, it's doing its thing. But I want you to notice that the value, and I stopped at a random place, the value here is minus 50.5, all right? Maybe I want for all of these values to be even numbers. You know, I just want 50. I don't want 50.5. So I can round up I can round down, or I can just round some numbers up and some down, depending on, so 5 will go to the top number and 4 will go to the bottom one, right? So it would round it either up or down. If you click on this expression language menu, you can go to JavaScript Math. And you're going to see here a method called math. So you have cos, acos, tan, so cosine, all of that. But look at these: math round, math seal, and math floor. If it's math floor, it will always round down. If it's math ceiling, it will always round up. And if it's math round, it'll just go where it needs to go, depending on what that decimal number is. So if we select math round, there it is. Notice that the value is what needs to be edited. So the value is going to be wiggle 2,60, and now it doesn't matter where we are, that number here will be an even number. And that will affect the animation a little bit. Notice that it's a little bit more jaggedy because it's not going in between degrees. All right, so we have talked about how to add the expression, how to connect to different properties with the pick whip, right? And we have talked about how to create a wiggle expression. We talked about variables, random numbers, and rounding these numbers. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about using other types of expressions. For example, we can have something called an expression control. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to delete this, and let's create a new circle here. And P for position, let's go ahead and add the expression to position. And now type the wiggle 2 times, say, 300. And there it is. So what if I want to keyframe this wiggle? And I could do it in code, but let's pretend I don't know how to do it. All right? So how do I keyframe this expression? Yes, you know what? I could convert these to keyframes, and then I can do it like that. But there's a much easier way. Let's create a new layer. Layer, new, null object. A null object is a layer of nothingness. All right, so let's name this control layer. To rename anything in After Effects, select it, press enter. Well, almost anything. So press enter, type in the new name, and you got it. So now I'm going to select this layer, and let's go to Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Control. And there you have it. This slider control is going to help me keyframe this wiggle. So here we go. Select the control layer in the timeline and press the letter E for effect, and then expand it so that you can see the slider here in the timeline. Okay, so I am going to keyframe the wiggle by keyframing the magnitude. All right, I could do it with the frequency. So instead of 2 times per second, 0 times per second. But I'm going to do it with the magnitude. Simply double click that value, that number, and After Effects will select it for you. Now use the pick whip and point to the slider. All right, just click and drag and the expression gets written for you. Let's just look at it, this. Look, the wiggle 2 times per second, and then for the magnitude, look at this comp layer, control layer, the effect slider control, the property slider. There you go. The wiggle will not wiggle even if we play. And the reason for that is because the slider control is at 0. We can keyframe it now. So keyframe it here, move in time, move this value, and there you go. It's going to start at 0, and then it's going to start doing its thing. We're going to keyframe it again, and now it's going to go back to 0. And we have, in essence, keyframed this. What if I want to do it in code? I want to do this in code. So I'm going to delete this layer, and now the expression is giving me an error because the expression is referring to a layer and an effect that don't exist. So we want to keyframe, so to speak, this expression in the code. How to do that? Well, just like many other things, I have found as of late that ChatGPT can help me. Let's go to ChatGPT and ask it. Can you write an After Effects expression that will start a wiggle at 2 seconds, and end it at 5 seconds? Copy the code. And now let's paste it here. Look at the time. Time. Boom. Look at this. Starts at 2 seconds and ends at 5 seconds. You already know how this wiggle is working. So instead of 10, maybe I just want it to be 2, and instead of 100, I want it to be 300, and there you have it. It will start at 2 seconds, end at 5 seconds, and voila, our wiggle is keyframed. All right? So just like that, you can use ChatGPT to write many other expressions for you, but it helps if you understand the structure of the expression so that you can modify it accordingly. All right? Okay, let's go on. Let's talk about some really useful expressions. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that expression, and now I'm just going to create a little bounce. So from here, it'll go to here. All right? I want this to loop forever and a day. I want it to loop. So we're going to use a loop expression. So here we go. Alt, click on the stopwatch option if you're on the Mac, and now you can go to the expression language menu. You can go to property and look at this. Loop in, loop out, loop in duration, etc., etc. So I'm just going to go to the loop out and notice that I have here a cycle. Cycle. Look at this. Left to right, boom, back to left. See it? So it's looping. Oh, I want it to go faster. Yeah, move the keyframes closer to each other. Look at that. But it's still cycling. So it's like a typewriter, right? Boom, boom, boom. I want it to go boing, 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 boing. Instead of cycle, I want it to ping pong. Left and right and left. And you know what? I can even select the keyframes and go to animation, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And it's just following the easy ease. Oh, I needed to go faster. I'll go faster. See what I mean? So this is what I mean with expressions make our life easier. Isn't this a heck of a lot easier than keyframing all those things? I mean, that's 2 keyframes, and it's just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So let's go ahead and delete all those extra layers, and let's have the composition completely clean, and let's create a new layer here. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'll just do about yay. And I don't want to stroke this time. So, and also I want it to rotate here from the left. All right, so select the layer, press R for rotation, and then enable the expression and type wiggle. 2 comma, let's say 60. So it's going to wiggle 2 times per second, 60 degrees. All right? Perfect. Now we're going to clamp these values. All right, so we're going to clamp these values so that they don't go any more than whatever or any less than whatever. And I'm using wiggle just to show you, but in reality, this can be with anything at all. So we're going to clamp these values. Select that expression and cut it. Control or Command X. Now we're going to type the following, clamp. So just type in the word clamp, and even before you're done typing, there it is. Make sure it's selected and press enter. And there you go. So we are going to clamp the value. All right, so the value is going to be the wiggle, right? And then we are going to type it. We're going to clamp it to minus, so comma, minus 45 and plus 45. So even though we're wiggling 60, we're clamping the value. Look at this. Now, the 45 value, and let's play it from the beginning. And we don't see too much in here. And the reason for that, I mean, if you look at the values, even up here, it's only doing 31. So, you know what? Instead of 45, I'm going to clamp it at 5. All right? And here we go. It's not going to go any higher than 5 or any lower than minus 5 because I am clamping the values. And because the wiggle is trying to make the values go more, that's why you see this just clamped, but moving at seemingly random intervals. All right, so clamping the values is super useful. All right, let's go on. Let's create 2 solids. So delete whatever you have in there and let's create 2 solids. So Control or Command Y. One red is good. And let's make the other one green because why not? Select both layers, S for scale, and let's make them about yay. And now we're going to just separate them like yay. We don't really need to separate them, but let's just do it anyway. Let's talk to green and add a wiggle expression to the position of green. All right, so Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch and wiggle 2, 400, whatever, right? So now green is just wiggling left and right. To red, let's add an effect called Layer Control. So select the red, go to Effect, Expression Controls, Layer Control, and now the layer is going to be the green solid. See it here in the Effect Controls panel? I'll make it a little bit wider so you can see it better. See it? Now that in essence is doing absolutely nothing. But now we're going to talk to the position of the red solid. So P for position, and we want to see the layer control. And now we are going to add the expression to position. And now we're going to pick whip to layer. All right, so look what it says. Effect, layer control, layer. Now dot transform, and you don't have to finish typing, and then dot position. And there you have it. And now the 2 are going right on top of the other. All right, so right now, because of this effect, I'm having red follow whatever green does. Now I can offset this by saying a minus, say, 300. And now you can see them side by side. So this is a really good way that you have. And you can say, but you can do this with parenting. parenting is not as flexible. Parenting is not as flexible. You can't write a conditional with parenting. Remember, parenting is either on or off. You can time this, you know? So this is kind of like parenting, but with more power, right? And you can offset it by more. It doesn't have to be 300. It could be 600, and there you have it. They're doing exactly the same thing. You can also use variables to separate the dimensions. So not too bad. Now, let's go ahead and delete the red layer, and let's get rid of that expression on green, and I'm just going to click and drag it to center it a little bit more. And let's go ahead and add the time value expression to the scale of this layer. So select the layer, S for scale, add the expression. And in fact, let's use variables so that we do it to the width and not the height. So A space equals space, B space equals space, C space equals space. And again, we're just going to do it the easy way. Just point at itself and then put the array together like that. And don't forget the semicolons for good measure. All right. So right now, this is doing nothing, but we separated the dimensions already with the variables. So now it's going to become much easier. So width goes first, A, so 0 will be the width. Let's go ahead and add that time asterisk value. All right, so time asterisk value. And look what happens. The width of the layer is controlled by the time. And when I say time, do I mean like abstract time? No, I mean the playhead time. And if you find that, oh no, this is going too quickly, it's going way too quickly, you can actually divide that value in two so that is less. So you're changing the rate of change. You could also clamp it, and you can do math rounds. So don't forget, you have all of those other tools at your disposal. All right, so there is also a ton of help online. So if you go help here, you can go to About After Effects help, in-app tutorials, online tutorials, scripting help, and the one that interests us is the expression reference. So you can simply go to help in the Adobe website. Let me maximize this. Look, you can loop with expressions. There are other in here. Look at this, JavaScript, and there's a ton of things in here, including expression examples that you can see in here in this side menu, and you can simply copy and paste them. Look at this, wiggle 2,30. So make sure that you use all of the available resources, and there's more. I mean, all you need to do is Google After Effects expressions help. There's also Dan Ebert, who has a website, and you can just look at the expressions that he has, and when presented with an issue. And listen, if all else fails, you can always send me a message through these messages here on YouTube, or simply email me, and or anybody else, right? So if I don't know the answer, I assure you I know who to ask. So, you know, we're not supposed to know everything, and asking for help is perfectly acceptable, and it's perfectly fine. So let's go back to After Effects and let's do one more expression, but this time let's use a text layer. So I'm going to grab my type tool. I'm just going to type, I am a text layer. I'll center this just by clicking and dragging. I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better. And in fact, you know what? Let me have it left aligned. And there you have it. Now let's go ahead and add an animator for scale here. And it is in this scale that we're going to add the expression. So I'm going to make this a little bit taller. Press and hold Alt or Option, and now we're going to type the expression. We are going to have variables. The first one is going to be frequency. So frequency, space equals space, and then amplitude, amp, space equals space. All right, so let's say the frequency is going to be 3, and this is a comment. So / is going to be a human comment that you can use to send you or other messages of what it is that that line is doing. So frequency of the changes measured in times per second. All right. Then amplitude, we're talking about scale. So I think I want to do at least a 75%. So / changes in the scale of this layer measured in percentages. All right. So I'm just sending myself messages. All right. So frequency, amplitude. And now I need to put this together somehow. Now I inadvertently clicked outside of this, and let's just do our variables here, B space equals space, and C, and this is just going to put A and B together. So A is going to look at itself, B is going to look at itself, and now is that we're going to add some things. So here at the end, plus amp, all right? And on the second line, also plus amp. So plus amp, all right? Times math.sin, and then we're going to type frequency times time. All right, so we can actually copy that entire thing and we can paste it here, but instead of sin, it's going to be, so sin as in sine, it's going to be cos as in cosine, and then frequency plus time, and that should actually do the animation perfectly well. It's just a little bit wavy, right? We can take that entire expression, we can cut it, and we can now add it to the scale of the layer itself, and it works slightly different. The reason why it works different is because when you add an animator, as you already know, then it's working on the individual characters. So each and every character is going to have its own anchor point, and it's going to change the scale according to that anchor point. Well, if you add it to the layer, then it's adding it to the layer itself based on the anchor point of the layer. So there you have it, a very wavy animation that you can use for whatever. Congratulations! You have now gained a solid understanding of expressions in After Effects. I hope this video has provided you with a strong foundation to start incorporating expressions into your motion design projects. Remember, expressions offer incredible potential for automation, efficiency, and dynamic control over your animations. Don't be afraid to experiment, explore further, and push the boundaries of what you can achieve with expressions. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I publish weekly tutorials. Feel free to leave any questions or comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.